What is up, everyone, and welcome to episode 73 of the Trainer Scoop. I'm here with a very gracious guest who's been through the schedule changes that my life sometimes requires. Very happy to be talking with Mr. Oliver Smith today. Oliver, what's up, my man?
What's up, man? I appreciate you having me.
Yes, sir, dude. It's always some of my favorite podcasts when I haven't necessarily met and discussed extensively with my guest, right? So
Totally.
very, very excited to kind of learn more about you, see what it is you're doing, because from what I've seen so far, it looks like you're doing a great job and you're putting out some killer content, getting results for the people. But if you wouldn't mind, give a little intro about yourself and tell the people who is Oliver Smith.
For sure. Yeah. I grew up in Raleigh, North Carolina. And I think my background is probably a bit different than some of the others in terms of how I got into the fitness space. But I was always athletic growing up, but hated organized sports. So got heavy into skating and that whole culture. And then ended up going to college in Greensboro, North Carolina. It's like a small hippie school. I was 18, like no idea what I wanted to do. So I majored in political science and education. But really my major was just like partying. Like that like that was like almost why I chose the school. That was all I knew, really, you know what I mean? So like
Mhm.
by year three, I developed some like pretty unhealthy habits. And so I had to take some time away. I did get a job. I was like running a summer camp at the time. But I remember like getting home from work one day. I vividly remember this is like 11 years ago and sitting on the couch, like doing my thing, what I would do after work. And I was like, fuck, I felt like restless or something. I was like, I feel like I need to like move or do something. And my older brother, had also like just gotten over a health crisis. And so we were like, well, I guess like people go to the gym, like that's what you do if you want to get healthy. So we went and dude, almost immediately I was like, oh shit, like this is fucking awesome. This is what I've been missing in my life, And I know that not everyone has that experience. For some people, it's like constantly like you're never gonna be motivated. You just gotta kind of do it. But for me, it was like I'd always had struggles with mental health, depression, anxiety, and a lot of those were, treated in other ways that were not super healthy. And so
Mhm.
this was like, oh man, there's this like thing that I can do that is an outlet for those issues that's also it's not unhealthy, it's also really healthy for me. So it's like crazy light bulb moment. And I also saw results fairly quick, which is also not the case for everybody. And so yeah, it was just like shit, this is on. And so I took all my hyper focus from those other things and put them in the gym. And I was like everyone, like the first 3 years, like no idea what I was doing. But it was also like that grace period of like still making good results, even though I'm doing some dumb shit, you know? And then I went down a real rabbit hole of content. And I don't know if you have like thought back and like where you started with your content consumption.
Mhm. Oh
Dude,
yeah, I love this. I love this.
yeah, so this is 11 years ago. So like I've been thinking about it and it was obviously YouTube.
Yeah.
And at that time it was like and I'm like I hate to say some of this stuff, but it's like Elliot Hulse.
Yep. Yep. Yep.
It's like the
Six
Yo
pack
Elliot videos.
shortcuts.
Yeah. And he was like pretty normal then. He's kind of
Oh
uh,
yeah.
yeah, he's taking a turn. So
Yeah.
this one, I don't know if you remember Scooby.
Yeah, dude. Yeah. I think he actually retired from YouTube like maybe 2 years ago or something. But it's crazy. Like he was a real big player back in the day.
He was, but he was like uncomfortable watching him.
Yeah, he was so awkward.
Yeah, I was like, God, this is like creepy, but I'm still watching.
And he was like bald and shit.
Yeah, but like super jacked, but just like
Yeah.
um, and then Scott Herman.
Yeah. Yeah.
So those were like
Yeah.
the dudes, and like it's crazy. Like when you first get started, you have no idea what's right or wrong. It's like,
Hmm.
oh, this is a person that's got a lot of followers. That's right.
Mm-hmm.
So I follow these people. I was reading T Nation, which I think some was helpful, but
Yeah.
I looked back recently and I was like, well, this is like some of the stuff's a little wild.
Yeah.
But so I did that, and then my older brother started a snack bar business with some friends, and one of the people he started with used to be a personal trainer. This guy's name was Sean, and he trained at a gym in New York City. And the other trainers at that gym were Mike Israel and Nick Shaw.
Oh, that's so cool.
Crazy,
Damn.
yeah. So this dude like lived in Charlotte, and I think that's where Nick Shaw is located in North
Yeah,
Carolina.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So
Huh.
like I remember him saying, he was like, dude, Oliver, it's time to put T Nation away. And he gave me the Renaissance diet book, and then he started writing me and my brother free programs, and he was definitely using the RP templates. And this was
Mhm.
like 2014 or 15, but it was, like RIR, set progressions, like it was
Oh
these
yeah.
Excel sheets, and you like click on the YouTube link, and it was actually a girl doing the instructional videos. If you go like way
Mm.
back in their content, I think you'll see it. But
Oh,
so
okay. Yeah.
yeah, that just like, oh fuck, this evidence based scene is awesome and really speaks to me. And the RP material was like advanced but digestible,
Right.
so I could understand it. But then I also went like read Eric Helm's book. It was like the Muscle and Strength Pyramids, I
Yep,
think.
yep. Yeah.
And then I read Brad Schoenfeld's like the Max Muscle Plan, I think is what
Yep.
it's. So kind of like went down that rabbit hole. During this time I was like, and I will say one thing about like RP, like I read that stuff very literally. And so I remember like I read the volume landmarks, and it was like, all right, I start with 10 sets, and then I add two each week, and then I go to 20
Hmm.
sets. And I'm sitting there doing like 12 sets of leg press, which is absurd.
In one session.
Yeah, because I was just like, okay, this is like,
Oh,
you just add two, I read
holy
it
shit.
very literally. And
Yeah,
I feel
yeah,
like that's probably not uncommon for people.
yeah.
Because it's like, you need to like really think about it and not just like read it at face value, because a lot of that is like averages.
Hmm.
And so yeah, so did that. I was teaching middle school at the time, which
Damn.
was fucking brutal. Um,
Yeah.
I hated it. And I was like, I got to find something that I want to do, and I love working out. So like maybe training, even though I know that just because you like doing something doesn't mean it's right for you for a career.
Right.
But I got my NASM certification, which I've never taken a like test where I had to unlearn what I knew was correct
Bro, yes.
to pass something. It was like really confusing for me because I'm like trying to remember these things that are like, okay, I know this is not right, but I need to know this for the test. So I passed and quickly unlearned all of that and got hired at a local big box gym, which was like, it was great. It was cool. I learned a lot. And I'm sure you've done that. It's like the clientele you work with is so all over the board. Like I had like people who were really fit, really not fit. I had one Chinese immigrant who spoke zero English, and so like
No way.
our entire sessions were like Google Translate on my phone, which was really challenging.
I've actually done that with a girl from she was from Russia. Yeah.
Okay, yeah,
It's an interesting thing, but honestly, you can make it work. Like,
yeah, like it was like a you need to be creative, and I think like training really like sparks that creative flame of like, hey, how can
yeah.
we make this work, and like what adjustments can be made to even this machine to fit this person.
Hmm.
And so
Yeah.
that was helpful. The thing that I struggled with was the pay. Like a lot of people, like it was just like, damn, I like this, but I can't, like I'm losing money every month.
Yeah.
And so I got another job at a fancier gym, still a big box, but like I'm not gonna say the name, but it's like luxury fitness, you know.
Is this in Charlotte?
This is in Raleigh.
Oh, Raleigh, Raleigh, Raleigh. Okay,
Yeah.
gotcha.
So big ass, like very expensive gym, and it was still like cool, but it was no real different from the other one. It was just like fancier
Yeah.
clientele, which
Yeah, it's
honestly
just they're paying more per month to be
they're
a
paying
member.
more for a month, and honestly, like sometimes more difficult. Um,
Yeah.
just because of kind of the vibe, I guess. But
Yeah.
still, I learned a ton. And then pandemic hit, and I know that that time period was like really horrible for a lot of people and fucked a lot of things up. But for me, it was like an incredible period because I was furloughed, so I was still getting paid. And then I was like, dude, I'm gonna start my own thing here. I started OMS Fitness, which is my like online fitness training. And I dedicated that entire quarantine to learning as much as I can about not only like online training, but just like training in general, like
Yeah.
reading every book I could on nutrition, on fitness, just really sharpening my tools. And because for me, and you're probably the same way, like I don't view reading about that stuff as like a chore that I need to set time aside to do. It's like I'm gonna do it regardless. I'll find myself at parties sometimes, just like I'm gonna hop on Instagram and just see this.
Yep.
Oh, you know what I mean? Like, which is crazy, but
Yeah.
it's like a debate against, hip thrust and squats. I'm like, fuck you, like, I gotta read this, you
Right.
know? And so, yeah. And so I think that's also a good sign of like, I am truly, truly passionate. And that's really cool and really fortunate. And not many people have that. Anyway, so I started that, and yeah, I mean, like it was not sustainable in the sense of like that would be my only job. So I went back to the gym and continued to do the online thing on the side, and then eventually got that up enough that I just went full time online, and then also did like I had like 5 in-person clients as well that I did
Mhm.
privately.
Mhm.
So still not making a ton of money, but really happy and really
Yeah.
motivated. And coming from, I don't know how old you are. I'm 35. Like I've worked jobs that I really hated, and having something where I wake up and I'm fucking stoked to do it is so valuable that a lot of times, like, yeah, money is important, but that's more important to me than making more money at a job that I don't like,
Yeah.
And I know
Big
that
time.
like money will come if you're like passionate and you work really hard.
Yeah.
So yeah, I did that. I got certified with God, it's like the online trainer thing. It's like John Goodman. You know that? It's
I'm
like
actually not
the,
familiar with that one.
the Personal Training Development Center. It's like the only
Okay.
online training certification, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool.
So I did that. That was helpful. But then the real game changer was I got my RP nutrition certification.
Hmm.
And the nutrition information wasn't new. I'd read, all the RP diet books, but the way that they laid out the timeline for dieting was really helpful and really structured. And, just like that phasic approach to dieting was a total game changer for my business. And some of the systems that were implemented through that certification, I mean, I would always recommend that certification because that's the first one that I've taken where I was like, God, I'm really glad I took that. That was worth the money.
Hmm.
And so I ended up quitting the in person in 2021 and just have been doing my online thing full time since then. And it's been awesome, and it's hard, but it's fun. And there's like ups and downs for
Yeah,
sure.
dude.
Yeah, I'm sure
That's so cool. Oh
Yeah,
yeah. Oh yeah.
for sure.
Dude. Oh, let's get into it. There are so
Yeah,
many
for
cool
sure.
things to hit on there. Appreciate you. Appreciate you telling your story too. I
Totally. Yeah,
definitely
for
needed
sure.
to hear some of the things you said.
Yeah.
Um, I feel like it's interesting. We might have this similar thing. You can correct me if I'm wrong. So like I wouldn't say, I mean, I would say I kind of have like an addictive personality. Would you say like along the
Yeah.
same lines? Yeah.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah. And then like Trevor Fulbright.
I follow him on Instagram. I've never
Yeah.
interacted with him, but yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Trevor,
Yeah.
I feel like the same way. Like it's interesting how people that are like that have that and like like I'll delve into anything, bro. Like I was really, really like strangely not a fitness example. Like the show Game of Thrones. I got
Okay,
so
yeah,
into
yeah,
that shit and
sure,
I would
yeah,
like
yeah,
read every book, every lore book. I would watch YouTube videos. Same thing with fitness, right?
totally,
And
yeah,
it's like that's where people go. I feel like people end up at RP that are really into like that are really passionate about learning and advancing your knowledge so you can optimize your training, your client's training. It's so
totally,
interesting to me that like people like that often end up at RP in that
yeah.
line of thinking.
I think because RP is like detailed,
Yeah, yeah,
so you
big
can
time.
really go down a rabbit hole. It's like not just one program. It's like God, you could go down 7 different avenues, which is cool.
Yeah, dude.
You
Yeah,
know,
man. And like I am so glad that and I'm glad for you too that it's shifted from like for me, definitely in the past, like partying and like doing stupid shit, going
right?
out way too much, investing my time in people that I shouldn't have. I'm so glad that now it's like a fitness thing, something that, like you said, is constructive, it's productive, it's good for you. It's like a
Totally.
very, very fortunate thing.
Yeah,
Um,
for sure.
and it's interesting, man. Like I've talked about this on the podcast before, but my brother actually struggled with addiction for years, like half his life almost. And he like found the gym. He doesn't work out currently, but like that was a good shift in helping him with his recovery was like
Yeah, for
applying
sure.
those like tendencies into something that's productive. He got
Totally.
him being the pharmacological expert that he is, he was like running cycles and shit.
Oh shit.
And
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
looking back on, I'm like, why did you do that, bro? But he's like,
Yeah. Yeah.
he got big, like he got big into it and big. I
Right.
just I think that's like a cool parallel that we have, like the applied, like once you zone into something, you're locked in. You want to learn everything about it. Like that's
Totally.
a definite thing that I see. Um, so and man, to hit back on like the 2000s, the early 2010, like
Yeah.
YouTube, where we all went, man,
Right.
like it's so funny to see how far that's come because like I think, I mean, you mentioned a couple of them. I also would watch Omar Isuf, who he still makes YouTube
Oh,
videos and
he's
like,
awesome. Yeah, for sure.
yeah, yeah, great,
Totally.
great source there.
Yeah.
Johnny Candido was big in powerlifting back then, like maybe more mid 2010s.
Okay.
Um, the Hodge twins when they did fitness and not like hot
Right.
political takes.
Yeah. Yeah. For sure.
um, it's interesting, man. I started out so good with like some good like learning back then, and then like I
Yeah.
started following like Instagram influencers for a hot second, and like totally derailed myself for about 5 years, and then like got into like I did my undergrad in like a generalized fitness and nutrition type degree, and
Yeah.
of course like same as you, man. Like during the pandemic, I it was funny. I kind of think it as two parts because I had lived in New Jersey and trained in a probably similar, like slightly bougie gym
Yeah.
in New Jersey, and that was going well. But the pandemic happened, and I went back to Ohio where I'm from,
Yep.
and I was like working construction, and dude, I would like I you'll probably get a kick out of this. I like we had some weights that I used growing up, like my dad's Kmart weight
Yeah.
concrete set. My
Yeah.
dad and I made like a squat rack or a squat stand that I could bench and squat out of.
Oh,
And then
sick.
my uncle's construction company that I was working for, he does concrete. So
Okay.
I got creative with it and I was like, all right, what's the density of concrete? And I like Googled there's an assumed density of
Oh,
concrete. I
okay.
built
Yeah.
these like frames so that I could make like a mold of like hexagonal plates. So
Whoa.
I would I would take the concrete. I brought the forms with me and I would like set it up and like I would run back to his shop. I would like pour the concrete in the plates and then
Yeah.
I would use those during COVID.
Dude, that's incredible.
Yeah, it was cool. It was like honestly, I look back on it, terrible time for everything, but like that was fun in the creativity that we had to have with fitness. Yeah, and then I moved back to New Jersey like that summer of 2020 because stuff started calming down a little bit. Our gyms didn't
Right.
open
Yeah.
until September, which was
Yep.
tough. But yeah, like that's same thing, man. Like I got so into like learning online coaching systems, getting my content up a little bit, learned how to use Canva, learned how to edit video, learned how to I use like a training app. I don't know if you do like
That's what I do. Yeah.
spreadsheet. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yep.
So I learned that. And it was just like, I think it's a lot to be said for like taking that time to get your systems down, especially as maybe a piece of advice for like people that are looking to move into the online space.
Yeah.
Like you're gonna learn as you grow, but like really dedicating yourself to getting down those basics for a time. Maybe you're just working with a couple clients at like a discounted rate so you can work out the kinks in
Oh,
your
yeah.
system. It's a big thing. And it's cool that
Yeah, for
we kind of
sure.
had that parallel.
Definitely. Yeah. I trained for free for a while. A lot of
Yeah,
people,
yeah,
because it's
yeah,
like,
dude.
dude, I can't charge for this.
Yeah,
I need to
for
figure out
sure.
what I'm doing as well. But yeah, definitely. And then even like content creation, like that is a steep learning curve for
Oh
me
yeah.
at least, and I think you as well. And I on social media, like I got Instagram because I was a trainer. Like I didn't have
Hmm.
it. I think I got it in 2021 or 2020, which is
Wow.
like
Okay. Okay.
I was like, what would I do with this?
Yeah.
I was strictly like a voyeur on social media. I never put,
Yeah.
and so this first few like months of posting were like, I was anxious. I was like,
It's
God,
uncomfortable,
I
man.
don't want to do this. And also like concerned for like what others would think.
Hmm.
And like if you ask the kid from college what I'm doing right now that like didn't follow me, what I'm doing would be the last guess.
Blow their mind.
Totally, for sure. And so,
They're
yeah,
like,
and
"What's Oliver doing?" They're like, ecstasy." Or no, he's
right,
an
right,
online
right,
coach.
yeah, yeah, totally. It's like a real like, holy shit, wow, cool. But now, like, I'm training a lot of kids I went to school with, which is
There you go.
awesome.
Nice.
And there's kind of like that like trickle down thing that happens with like the first one in your friend group who starts working out, and then everyone's kind of like, hey, what are you doing? And it just kind of like expands. I think there's like an
Yeah.
actual term for this, but it is definitely like something that I've experienced in my like circle.
Hmm.
But yeah, like the content thing is I just learned to just like put it out, and there's no other way to get better.
Yeah.
Like you just gotta like put out some like shitty stuff for a while and like keep learning, and then over time like it gets a little bit better. And I also was concerned about I would word things in a way where I'm like, these other coaches are gonna be like, dude, this guy gets it. And now I don't do that in the least because they're not going to be buying from me.
Yep.
They're not my clients. Like I might say quads or I might say the top of your leg. You know what I mean? Like
Mhm.
I want to create content that is
Yeah.
understandable for both people that don't work out a lot and people who do, because for me it's very irritating when I see content with like heavy jargon
Yeah.
just to use jargon. And I was like, I
Yep.
feel like I could have explained that in 3 sentences and
Yeah.
not seem like very pretentious and like I don't know what purpose that serves. And I think that if you really understand what you're talking about, you're able to explain more complex things in a digestible way, which I think like RP does a great job of. Jeff
Exactly.
Nippert is really good at that as well, I think.
Hmm.
So I don't know if you can like relate to any of
Dude.
that in terms of like your journey of like content creation.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. I remember, like you said, like I've always, I mean, I wasn't like the earliest adopter, but like I'm 26, right? So like
Yeah.
practically grew up. Like I remember my friends getting MySpace when I was in like sixth grade.
Oh yeah.
I didn't want to. I remember because like, yo, I kind of just kept to myself. I played video games. I loved like not like team sports. I played baseball. It was the only sport I played.
Okay. Yeah.
And
Mhm.
I would do like archery and shit. Like I was just always doing my own thing, like kind
Right.
of off to the side. And people would be getting social media. I didn't get social media until like high school. And then
Okay.
like I kind of found myself getting addicted to it because like it was a sense of community there, and like you could see what your friends were doing. And I never posted either. Like that was the thing. Like I remember I posted my first, like I had been lifting for probably 4 years at this point. In like 2017, I
Yeah.
posted my first like physique update post, and I was
Oh,
just like,
nice. Okay.
that felt so weird, man. It felt so
Yeah.
weird. But Yeah, it's a growing process. And on the topic of like the jargon, I think
Yeah,
I used to do too much of that when because yeah, I definitely did. My senior year of undergrad started my like training page, and of course I was like in the mix of like all of the enjoyable coursework at that time.
right.
So I was getting like the science literature, and I would try to like post about that. And it honestly, for me, I'm sure you've heard this too. It's like a place of insecurity where you're like, oh,
Yeah,
like I'll just like show them that I know this shit.
yeah,
I see people do that sometimes. I'm like, yeah, give yourself a year. Like you'll
yeah,
switch your shit up.
for
So
sure. Yeah, I can definitely relate to that.
yeah. But man, I'll say like the thing that popped out, I'm trying to think. I forget how we originally connected on social media, but obviously your page really pops,
Thank you. I
which is why
appreciate that.
I was like, oh shit, like I'll have to hit him with a message. And what's your content creation process like now? Like maybe like a quick like start to finish. You're making a post about I really like your exercise breakdowns. You do a ton of
Thanks.
topics, but like what does
Yeah.
that process look like?
So a lot of times for the ideas, it's based off of questions that my clients have asked me. But then if
Mm-hmm.
you really want content, go to a commercial gym and work out. Dude, you'll
Oh,
get that is literally I go to the gym and I write stuff down because I'm like,
it's a good idea.
I would never tell somebody like, hey, maybe try doing it this way because I've done it once and it was like that doesn't go over well generally, you know?
Yeah.
But not I don't sound like an asshole, but 80% of what you see at the gym is not great. And it's things that people could change that are like not big changes that would make a really big difference. And so that is a lot of my content. Like I
Yeah,
think great way to get ideas.
dude.
Just speak to those people, but through your own audience, not directly to them.
Yeah. Yo, real quick. I was back in Ohio. I live in Indianapolis now, so not
Mm,
far. But back in Ohio last week, and one of my friends and I were meeting up with another friend in Columbus, Ohio, and we
cool.
went to this gym called Metro in Worthington, and it's really well outfitted. It's got an old school feel. Like whenever the Arnold Classic is in Columbus, like a decent amount of
Yeah,
bodybuilders will go
pretty
train
famous
there.
place.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, yeah.
So we're like, I was like, it'll be a good lift. And it was a great lift, good equipment, like I said, but the people there, it was the worst lifting I'd ever seen in any
Really?
gym anywhere. Holy shit. Like I'm gonna have to think back to last Friday and write
Right.
that stuff down. One guy was like pretty, I mean, he'd probably been a multiple decade um user of performance enhancing drugs and just
Yeah.
shortened partials on everything, man.
Yeah. Yep.
Like stacking plates on hammer strength machines, short and
Yeah.
partials.
Yep.
I was like, holy shit, like we are in the belly of the beast here. And my friend was like, yeah, this is crazy.
Yeah, that's wild. But I'm sure they were still massive.
Yeah, I mean, maybe not aesthetic, but massive for sure.
Yeah. 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 That's like those are the hardest people to speak to because they're
Oh
like, dude,
yeah.
I'm way bigger than you. I'm like,
Yeah,
well,
for
yeah,
sure.
you are. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, dude, that's a very, very good idea of how to get like ideas for content, but definitely want to hear more about your process too. Sorry to interrupt.
No worries. Yeah, so I do that. A lot of times, like I will just wake up in the morning and be lazy, not get out of bed, but just thinking of stuff, and I'll just voice record all these different thoughts I have.
Hmm.
And then, like I try to do like some like talking head videos. I think that's what it's called. Or just like talking to the
Hmm.
camera. And I have that done in my office here, but I've started doing it at the gym too. Like I'm trying to like
Yeah.
just like throw shit at the wall and see what is the best response, to be honest.
Hmm.
Um, and so I do that. And then I do like just like instructional videos, but again in a way that's more for beginner and intermediates because you can be like a beginner intermediate for a really long time. Like
Hmm.
there are some people who've been working out for 5 6 years and like they're still kind of a beginner, just because you can just kind of do the wrong thing for a long time. And yeah, there's a lot you could probably learn. So I do that. And I try to block off like my mornings for content creation because that's when I feel like most mentally with it.
Hmm.
And so that's when I write the captions. But dude, like it takes a long ass time. Like
It does. It really does.
like so much longer than I would think. And I'm
Yeah.
like editing in this app, then switch to this app, and then like writing this, and then like, dude, I started doing TikTok, which is a fucking jungle. Like it, dude, I
Yeah.
don't like that place at all.
Oh, it's so
And
crazy.
like it's what I do there is I just like post that shit and then I get out of there because
Yeah, yeah.
like if you post a leg press or yourself using straps, you are gonna get so
Oh
much like,
yeah.
bro, what are you doing using straps? Like, like I'm like, and the locking out of the leg press is
Oh my
just
God, man.
and for 18-year-olds, like the worst crime.
We've all been hit with it. Yep.
Yeah, but like something about TikTok, it's like so much worse.
Oh, dude.
Yeah, and so
It's
like,
crazy.
yeah, like it, I've had to like, I remember when I first started posting, I'd get anxious when I'd get these like shitty comments. But now I'm like, I think of it in terms of like, well, that person is taking time out of their day to like write some bullshit that's like not even true. That's kind of on them. I don't need to be upset by that in any way. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
And at the end of the day, they're helping me because they're writing on my shit. It's like
Engagement, baby.
so it's like cool, do it. But there's something like that Dunning-Kruger effect on TikTok where it's like 16 to 18-year-olds who know way more than people who've been doing it for 10 to 15 years.
Yeah.
And it's like crazy. And I definitely would, I know when I was younger, I was like more sure of what I know than I am now. Now I'm constantly like, oh shit, maybe I'm wrong here. Like, and I think that's just something that comes with like age.
Yeah.
And that's even helped me kind of going all over the place here, but like I've heard you talk a bit about like being in this like RP bubble kind of.
Yeah.
And it's very easy to get stuck in that rut. And,
Yeah.
something that has recently gotten me out of that is like this whole length and partials thing.
Oh
You know,
yeah.
because I'm like, whoa, what? Like, not full range of motion. It was like I had an emotional tie to that, to training
Hmm.
that way. And I don't post about length and partials because I don't think that's matters for somebody who's a beginner or intermediate. I don't think that's worth me like making content about, to be honest.
Yeah.
It'd be more for like people like me or you who are like, yeah, I get a lot out of that. But for me, that's like opened up this box of like, wow, there's other ways to do things. And that is like a really freeing discovery. I don't
Yeah.
know if you've experienced that at all on your end.
Oh yeah. Yeah, man. I mean, I went into RP and that kind of ecosystem already
Yeah.
having been burned by I wouldn't say I wouldn't say anyone at RP is dogmatic, but I mean when you espouse you almost have to espouse an ideology and a training methodology that is slightly singular because that's how people will identify your brand with like oh like RP full ROM team full ROM and I mean on the back end they'll all say like oh but like I've heard Dr. Mike say, like, we'll change it if full ROM is no longer the best. If someday they find that, like, oh, like we're actually dead ass wrong, they'll change the
Right.
business name.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably not the best idea for you to create a business name around a fluid topic. That's neither here nor there. But
Right.
yeah,
Right.
dude, like my thing actually, I don't know if you might remember this guy. His name was Corey Gregory. He had a supplement company called Muscle Farm, and he did this squat every day. I squatted every damn day for like 3 years, bro.
Whoa. Do you get injured?
So no, never did.
Wow, that's
But I just
incredible.
yeah, man, I had kind of had like a preface to getting burned by like one ideology, I
Yeah,
guess. But yeah, super I'm glad you brought that up because it's super important to keep that open mind, especially when people are taking kind of more hard stances than not, I'd say.
totally. Yeah. Yeah, I think like I don't think Instagram is a good place to learn all of your information, but I think it's a
Yeah.
phenomenal place for a start off point.
Mm,
And be like somebody makes a post and you can kind of go down that rabbit hole. But Instagram has really introduced me to a lot of these new people. And like there's this dude, Dr. Soko.
hmm.
You ever see his stuff?
I don't. Yeah.
He's
I'll have to
a
check it out.
PhD, and he's like real big on the lengthen partials and whatnot, and
Mhm.
or longer muscle length training. But yeah, or even like dude, is it Jeffrey Schofield? He's like
Yes,
he's a
yes.
natural guy. He's like fucking huge,
Yeah, yeah.
and like you look at his training, and it's like that's not textbook form.
Right.
You know what I mean? But it's like, oh, there's like different ways to do things, and
Yeah.
it's really fun having these conversations with you because I don't actually have these conversations because for me, I still think
Mhm.
that the base of yeah, no, you should use a full range of motion, use good form, like that should be the base for everyone's training. And so I don't really go down these tangents in terms of like content or anything, but for my own pleasure, I love
Yeah.
like reading all this stuff and like having my ideas challenged. And, it's a constant effort to not be ideological about training, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And really get in a camp, you
Oh
know?
yeah. Yeah. And I mean, it's cool to have your group of people. Like I'd say
Totally.
like I definitely, love a lot of the Team Full Run guys and super, super glad that that platform has, helped me meet some cool people.
Yeah.
But a cool little example of what we're talking about here was another guy that I've learned for. Maybe I don't know if I'm trying to think if you would have saw that podcast because I feel like you referenced something from it. But a guy named Bryce Calvin, um, he has a coaching company, and he mostly coaches bikini athletes. And I feel like at one point he would have been those like by the book as possible, like RP principles, scientific principles. Um, but over time, he's the one that really kind of helps me understand like don't get too locked into one training ideology. Like keep that open mind. He actually
Yeah.
made a good point to me once when we were talking about like program design, and he was like, "This is when," and I still don't know how I feel about this. That's how ingrained it is in me. But he was talking about like as you progress through a mesocycle, like I saw one thing and it was like a completely different week one, day two versus week two, day two. I was like, what happened to your exercise selection? Like this is pretty different. These things are not the same at all. There's no progressive overload component. And he was like, yep, keep in mind, like those things are super important. Those staples are always gonna govern the majority of how I would program. But there is no rule that you have to follow. You're not breaking the law by switching things up from time to time. And I was like,
Totally.
huh, good point, good point. Something to keep in mind.
Yeah. That's crazy you brought that up. So I did hear your podcast. And is it possible that it was like 3 years ago?
Oh yeah, yeah. I did do a podcast with Bryce 3 years ago.
Yeah,
I also did. I
that's how I heard about you.
really no
Well, so that's
shit.
not like that's not so I recently somebody shared one of your posts, and so I was like, oh shit, I've seen this dude before, and it was that podcast from years ago. So maybe it was
Oh,
2020
okay.
possibly.
Yeah, yeah,
And so that got me following Bryce Calvin. And so I think he's like a
yeah.
really smart guy, and like I really like his approach, and I have watched that progression of like RP, not soldier, but you know what I mean,
Yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
into
There's a
it,
that's so
into it.
funny. Yeah.
To like I'll watch his content and be like, wow, you're really like doing your own shit. And that's really cool.
Hmm.
And in fitness, I think there's a wrong way to do things, but there's a lot of right ways to do things.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah.
Like I think like, doing a quarter squat at the top part of the squat. Yeah, I think that's like objectively wrong in every area.
Right.
But but like 1.5 squat is cool, full range squat, bottom range squat, all that shit's good. So like there's a lot of ways to do things. And like even with people's form, like, dude, no one's form is gonna look the same,
Hmm. Yeah,
and you could drive yourself crazy trying to like fit yourself into this, like, this is what it's supposed to look like. There's nothing that doesn't exist. People are
yeah.
different. But yeah, so I've learned a lot from Bryce's stuff. I'm training a girl now who's definitely like an advanced client, and her stuff is just like glute growth and shoulder growth. So I've learned from him in that aspect. It's like it is really fun to apply stuff to an advanced client.
Oh yeah,
Like,
yeah.
it's just
That's
like
what we live
fun,
for.
awesome. Like myo reps and all this different shit, and like it's cool, but
Yeah.
it's not the norm for me. It's my norm is people who just want to feel good and they're busy and, like just make some good progress. And that's like cool and fulfilling as well. But
Yeah,
are your
definitely.
clients like kind of all over the map in
Yeah,
terms of
really, really much
experience?
so.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
dude. And I, I think about that all the time, and I'm like, in the past, I've really limited myself because like I have this knowledge. I'm probably don't know shit, like you said. The older you get, the more you
Right.
realize you don't know.
Yeah.
But I'm like, damn, like I love working with like people that have competitive aspirations. I love working with people that have high levels of buy-in. But
Yeah.
it's like, are those really the people that comparatively buy training or work with a coach? Not
Right.
often.
Yeah.
It's great when it happens.
Dude, oh, yeah. Yeah, for sure.
So yeah, that's like definitely glad you brought some of those things up too, because it kind of just reframes it and it reminds me and all the people that might coach, um, you know, it's great to have your bread and butter of people that are just trying to, and there's not, I shouldn't say just trying to, people that are trying to be healthier, have a, enjoy their fitness, feel good. That's like a great goal to have. And
So
it's
yeah,
fun to work with those people too.
for sure. Yeah,
Yeah.
I find fat loss clients is my majority, and I find that work extremely fulfilling, actually,
Hmm.
because a lot of that is more like habit forming and behavior change and like just better relationships with food. And when people have a light bulb moment with that, to me, that's like really fucking cool.
Oh yeah. Oh
Um,
dude. Yeah.
and I like it. And it's also, like fat loss you can see.
Hmm.
Muscle gain, dude, you could like progress pictures with muscle gain is like that's hard. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
You're not going to see that much difference. But fat loss
Right.
is like, wow, you can really notice some stuff going on here, and that's like just it's fun for everyone involved. It's like cool.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I mean, I think like a good thing for new coaches to remember, and what I went through is like, you're supposed to have like a niche or something, and I do, but it's a loose niche. But
Right.
my niche starting out was like advanced trainees, and it's like you said, they mostly know what they're doing.
Hmm.
And so you're going to have a hard time as a brand new coach having a full roster of people who are highly advanced, like bodybuilders. Like
Right.
that's not likely what's going to happen. So it'd be smart to focus on a more realistic area that you also enjoy because you do need to enjoy it. I mean, I'm sure trainers where you're like, dude, I kind of can't believe you're a trainer or that somebody pays you to do this. You know? And it's
Oh
not
yeah.
like a knock on that person. It's more just like, I think you really just like working out, and that's cool. But I
Hmm.
but I don't think you need to be like doing the training thing because for me, I'm like deeply, deeply passionate about the people that I work with and like finding ways to get them results in a sustainable way. And that's something that I pride myself on, but struggle with in the sense of on Instagram, you could go and find a coach that says you're gonna lose 20 pounds in a month. And then I'll talk to the same person. I'll be like, yeah, you can lose 20 pounds or 30 pounds, but hey, we're looking at like 6 months,
Hmm.
if it's 40 pounds or something, maybe a year, I don't know. Like we're gonna do this phasic approach. And that is like the least sexy thing somebody
Oh
can hear.
yeah.
And like,
Yeah.
fuck, you serious? Like, but my concern is actual long-term like sustainability as opposed to getting a really good progress picture and then like kicking that person to the curb when they inevitably be rebound
Yep.
and wonder like what happened.
Oh yeah.
And that's hard. I'm sure you probably struggle with that as well. It's like marketing yourself as this nuanced guy
Yeah.
who like takes a reasonable approach to things.
Yeah, man. It's very hard to do. And I also just like I am the type that would like rather make, or I wouldn't rather, but like this is just how it goes. Like I'll make less money before I put out some bullshit. Like
Totally.
um and that's where like to offer a solution and not just complain, like long form content, like a podcast, like a YouTube video, like a blog, I do feel like that really does help. And it's not going to be what catches the masses, but like people that will be good clients do get attracted to those forms of content. I
Yeah.
don't know if you have any other input or any other like little piece of advice in regard to that, because like you said, when you try to do things the right way, it's not sexy. And I mean, you'll get there to the point where like you have leads and business is cruising, but it takes a
Yeah.
long time and it sucks for a long time.
For sure. Yeah. I mean, I think like getting results is a big part of how I can sell what I do, but a big part of it is just like relationship building. And I know what it's like to be real fucking hard on yourself and like be in a bad mental state. And I know that those experiences have enabled me to show a sort of empathy and compassion that I think really has suited me and enabled me to connect with people who are struggling. And people who hire a trainer are having a hard time in some area,
Hmm.
and I think it's like I don't relate too well to the really like just fucking do it approach, you know like this hard line, like you just need to discipline. It's like, well, maybe, but that probably is not going to work for a lot of people. So I like to, yeah, just like get to know the person and instill the idea that you're going to fuck up constantly and that's okay. And like once you have messed up, there's no point in looking back at that. You just go on to the next day and that's not a big deal. And I'm really good at fitness, but there's other areas of my life where I'm not good at and I constantly fuck up. And so I'm able to relate in that sense as well, where I'm like, man, I just like can't seem to get this together. Whereas for me, meal prepping is super easy.
Yeah.
For some people, it's like I'm like, I don't know why I like keep messing this up. And so I think that has enabled me to like build a business around kind of empathy and understanding and meeting people where they're at and just like being encouraging, you know?
Yeah. That's big, man. The relationship side, like I mean, definitely when people see that, they're gonna be gravitated toward you as like a new client, but like that's what helps with client retention so much. Like,
Yeah.
I'll be like asking about the family. I'll ask my clients, like girlfriends or wives, like, how is he doing? How are they doing? Whatever it
Yeah.
might be. Like those things. And then if you like extrapolate that, like I think so like a couple of like the biggest, like I don't know if you follow bodybuilding at all, but like there's a really prevalent bodybuilding coach that works with a lot of the people that do well in the Olympia, Hani Rambod, and
Yeah.
like it's more of like how can we keep this person's head on straight? They're at the highest level, but you can
Right.
extrapolate that down to like how can we keep their head on straight? How can we make sure they're finding a sense of balance and enjoyment with life and fitness? And yeah, that's where a lot of those like relationship people person skills come in too.
Definitely. Yeah. I think that's huge. And I think that's maybe, I don't know if you can learn that. I'm not sure, honestly. Like that, I really don't know. I
Yeah,
think like,
that's
I
a
don't,
great question.
yeah, that I think it's like very helpful to approach something when you've already experienced something similar. And
Yeah.
that could just be a similar mindset. Could be just something
Hmm.
completely different. But if you know what it's like to be hard on yourself, or like, I mean, dude, in the fitness industry, those are some of the most like people are so mean to themselves in
Oh
terms
yeah.
of physical appearance. And some of these people are like, what the fuck do you see? Because what I see is like, you're like the most in shape person in the world right now, you know?
Hmm.
And so that is just like, yeah, I don't know. It's like something about fitness where, yeah, people are just like, people tend to treat themselves a way that they would never treat their friends. And
Yeah.
so I kind of like being the voice of like reminding them, like, hey, you're being like ridiculously hard on yourself right now.
Oh
Not
yeah.
worth it, you know?
Yeah.
And that can be helpful for people to recognize. Or even if I like look at somebody's progress pictures and be like, whoa, dude, like here's these objective measures we have of measurements, body weight, clothes fitting, how I see your progress pictures. You've made some awesome fucking changes. What you see in the mirror, I think, is being skewed by some just like psychological, you know, negativity,
Yeah.
you
Yeah,
know?
man. Dude, I see that all the time. All the
Yeah.
time. It's a good point, man. And like you said, like once you are able to have like a light bulb moment with people, like I kind of had one with a client, like partially today because we hit a goal we've been working for a long time. But
Yeah.
like I think the light bulb moment happened probably 3 weeks ago. It's the best feeling
Yeah.
and keeps you coming back, keeps you showing up and putting in the work. So
Totally. Yeah. And then I got a question for you, like in terms of, and this will probably apply to other coaches, all I want to do is read fitness and nutrition information. But as at a certain point, that's not really serving me in terms
mhm.
of like being a coach or business. And so like I've recently started kind of like, well, I need to learn more about marketing and
Yeah.
sales. And like, have you done much of that where you've kind of like put more of your effort into learning these skills that are maybe not as interesting to you, but are going to serve you business wise better?
Yeah, dude, definitely something I've started to work on. It's funny that you say that. I was editing a podcast I'm going to drop on Saturday, and I'm going to paraphrase what my guy said. So he said something along the lines of like, you have to be a couple things as a trainer, right? Like, of course, you have to know how the body moves.
Yeah.
You have to know exercises. You have to be a little bit of a therapist in some regards. Like, you're going to have to empathize with people, listen to them, and kind of brainstorm around working through some solutions with their life and everything. And then he's
Yep.
like, you're also going to be a salesman. He's like, if you're not a salesman, you're just not going to be a trainer. You're someone who likes working out. And I was like, yeah, damn, that's true. That's true.
Yeah.
So big thing there. Like I mean, I've definitely put a lot of time into listening to the more like business side podcasts. So like I think a good resource for anyone that's looking to learn more about this is like Jordan Syatt and
Oh, yep. Mm-hmm.
yeah, Mike something.
Bukaki.
Yeah, their podcast.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's like maybe like how to be a personal trainer, something
Yeah.
like that.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I feel like they did a good job of giving some business basics. Um, as like corny as he can be sometimes, I do think he's good at what he does. Alex Hormozy,
Yeah.
um, I like operated a little personal training studio for a hot second, and there's like a gym launch secrets book that he has, and I did use a good bit of the advice from that book. It's something I need to keep working on, man. Are you doing any learning right now?
Yeah, it's the same exact thing that you're doing. It's like podcast, and it's definitely one of those things where with fitness, I know where to go to read good information. So I could
Yeah,
go Stronger by Science or RP or Menno Henselman's or whatever. With business or marketing, I don't really know. You know what I mean?
yeah,
It's like, how do I know if this? So I had the same thing with Alex Hermosi. I'm like, is this guy like full of shit? And so I
yeah.
asked my
Probably a little bit.
well, I asked my business friends, and they were like, "No, he seems like to know what he's talking about, and he's clearly very successful." And so I have taken some like some stuff from him. It's hard, man, because a lot of times the people whose jobs are online business coaches, to me, a lot of times that feels like the entire goal is to get as many clients as possible, but there's not much talk about you need to do a good job with the clients you have.
Hmm.
It's constantly just like how to get more clients. And I bet some trainers like are just stacking up clients, but God knows what the experience for that actual client is like.
Yeah, dude. Oh man, real quick. So like being in Ohio, like Columbus has a pretty strong fitness scene. Just
Mm,
I think probably because of like the Arnold, because of West Side Barbell.
yeah.
And there was a maybe yeah, they have this like program, and a lot of my friends that were trainers started like getting into this program. It's like I think I'm gonna say a number, I might be wrong. It's around 10K to do their program. And I was
Yeah, I
like,
think, yep.
fuck. Like, okay, that's a lot of money. and they say that they make their money back, all this stuff, which I believe that. I believe it's a valuable program. I'm sure it's
Yeah.
great. Um, I heard that and I was like, I don't know. Like, I'm all about making money. You
Yeah.
got to make money.
Sure.
I'm
Yeah.
all about
Yeah.
like learning how to run a business more efficiently. But I ended up not doing it. And also, I did an internship with Bryce, which was free, right? Crazy.
Awesome.
So Bryce and that one was more like how to be a good coach. And that was like, I mean, I knew a lot of the theory and science behind it because he uses a lot of good resources like RP, that type of thing. He had us read the whole RP scientific principles of hypertrophy,
Oh, nice. Yeah.
and I had already read it, of course, but like applying that is big. But yeah, man, like the business side, it's really tough for me. And like while I'm sure I could definitely benefit from like learning more, going through a program, it just feels like slimy in some ways. So there's got to be a way for me and for other people out there to find and have those good resources. I'm still working on it. That's why that was a great question that you asked, man. Something I still need to put effort into, and a lot of people do too.
Dude, yeah, I think a lot about that. I'm pretty sure I know the couple that you're talking about.
Probably.
But yeah, I think my like solution right now is to just do as good of a job as possible and like offer a very, very good service to my current clients. And I get referrals that way. And I
Yeah.
think that's like probably the most powerful thing that you can do.
Yeah.
Just like really take care of your people. And if you do a good job, people are gonna say something to somebody at some point. And then that will like pay off in the long run. I mean, dude, like training and content and business, it is the same fucking thing as working out.
Mm-hmm.
It's like just show up, be consistent. It sucks at first, it's slow, but then you're gonna see some like compounding payoffs.
Oh
And I
yeah.
really try to remember that when like I post a piece of content, then I'm like, oh dude, this is gonna kill it. And it does so bad. And I was like,
Right.
fuck. Like for a split second, I'll be like, I'm done. Like I don't need to keep posting. Like this is, but you just do it again. Just like post
Yeah.
again the next day. And like right now, like this is recent for me, but like I'm on like maybe day 40 or something of like posting a reel every day. And that's my goal for now is like, it'd be awesome to do that for like 6 months, just see what
Yeah.
happens.
Damn,
Um,
dude.
but it's like such little reward at first.
Yeah.
It's just like, man, this is like a lot of work and I don't know if this is paying off, but I'm just going to stick with it and see what happens.
Yeah. Dude, and it's crazy because like a year ago, a video that I now get 400 views on would have been getting 2,000 views. So it's like, what the fuck?
Oh,
But
dude,
yeah,
I'm so glad you brought that up. I don't know what happened, but yeah, a year ago, like I was getting 10 to up to 40,000 views
mm-hmm.
on video on my reels on Instagram. And then one day it's just like maybe up to 1,000. And
Yeah,
maybe, do you think it's like an algorithm thing?
yeah, dude. And it's so hard to know what's popping on the algorithm or what's not. It's so tough. But yeah, I don't know. It seems to favor shit that doesn't really matter and that doesn't really help people, and that's more for entertainment value.
Right.
So like you said, like kind of like reframing your content in a way that's like and I'll say this, like educational and like aesthetic, I guess, or
Yeah,
like
sure,
visually pleasing, captivating. That's the key. It's tough, but it's
for sure.
yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah. Um dude, to kind of, I know we've been on for a hot second now, but I feel like we spit some great game and got some good value out of that.
Yeah, I enjoyed
Good
this.
yeah, dude, good learning, but just to kind of get to know Oliver a little
Yeah,
bit better
for
and get
sure.
that personal side out there. How is what's your training and nutrition looking like these days?
Yep. So I recently nutrition wise, I did a cut that just ended like 3 weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
And that was it was 11 weeks and I lost 22 pounds for that.
Solid.
And every cut that I do is easier.
Yeah.
I guess you just get used to it, but that was like really cool to be like, wow, this is like not too bad right now. And for me, it is, and this is probably said a lot, but I don't really care about the end result. It's always like I just like the process of doing something. So like I got real lean, and like some of my friends were like you're gonna stay like that, right? And I was like, "Oh, I can't. Like I gotta do something." So I'm doing like a mass right now.
Yeah.
Um, and for the first time, I'm gonna really try to not get too fat.
Such a tricky
And
balance.
it's a fine line. It's a fine line. And so like I'm trying to gain like only like I don't know, man, like 0.3% of my body weight a week, you know,
Yeah. Yeah.
which I think is reasonable. And so yeah, I'm doing that. And then training wise, I do push pull legs, and I've done that for a long time. I used to do 6 days a week, but I was really having recovery issues. And I remember like on day 4, like week 3 or something, I was like, am I like sick or something? Like I felt, that feeling of like getting hit by a truck.
Yeah.
Like, dude, like what? I have no symptoms, but I feel real bad.
Oh yeah.
And so like, yeah, I've taken it down to 5 days a week. So like the 6th day just rolls over.
Yeah. Yeah.
And,
Nice.
and my training philosophy for right now, it's really just like less is more. And I really try to put so much effort and focus into every single rep.
Mm-hmm.
And just from doing that, I need a lot less volume,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't know what you consider high volume or low volume at this point, but for me, like I generally do about 7 sets a week for like back and bicep or back and chest and quads and hamstrings.
Yeah.
Like I can't do more than 2 sets of a stiff leg deadlift because it like fucks me up too much.
Yeah.
Don't need much for that, but yeah, and so I mess around a lot with myo reps. Really like myo reps, not even because I think they're better, but because it's just like it's quick.
Yeah. Definitely. I'd rather do 2 or 3 sets of my reps versus four straight sets
Oh,
any
dude,
day.
totally. Like now, those days, like of doing 4 sets, I'm like, I'm not doing that shit ever again.
Yeah.
Like my rep match stuff with like isolations. But yeah, it's more just like I've gotten really into meditation. That was kind of like in line with like kind of getting out of some of those unhealthy habits.
Mm-hmm.
And so for me in the gym, that is completely meditation. And it sounds
Mm.
like bullshit, but when I am in the middle of a set of like leg press, I am like truly in that set, and my entire focus is on everything that's happening with my quads.
Yeah.
That's it. And it is like a really cool experience, and it's a really good way to really push yourself. And I try to tell my clients that like if you've got stuff going on in your life that's like not going to go away, but for that like 1 minute that you're in your set, just be in your set.
Oh yeah.
Have that be your focus. Um, and so yeah, like I'm never going to be the strongest person. I don't really care about strength, to be honest. But I strive to be the person with like, you know, the best range of motion or like the best control or anything like that. That's kind of my efforts right now. Just like try to get the most out of every session.
Yeah, dude. No, very, very much same here. Um, I was I was thinking about this. I did another episode with a guy that's tapped into the RP community as well. He's a younger guy. His name is Max Strasny, and he came to Indianapolis, and I think we did like 7, maybe 6 sets on a leg day, and I was like I was out, like hypoglycemic, like fucked me up, like
Yeah, yeah,
that's
right.
all I needed.
Yeah,
And it's
totally.
yeah, it's like so cool to have come, because especially like back when I first started working out, like early mid 2010s, like it's a lot of volume was the thing, and like just training quality has come so far, like in quality of information has come so far since then. So definitely can resonate with you on like how that's sort of changed over the
Sure.
years.
Yeah, totally.
Question about your nutrition approach.
Yeah.
So do you integrate mini cuts in that, or are you just going to go for like a set time, gaining that like what would you say 3% a week or so,
Yeah.
or
I've
not
done,
point three?
yeah, point three. Yep.
Yeah, that's 3%.
Yeah. The big boy. I have done one mini cut. This was a couple years ago, and I did it in December, which was like the dumbest time to do a mini cut because it was like right at the holidays. I was like, this is bad. But I likely will do a mini cut. Yeah, this go
Mhm.
around. And yeah, I'm definitely gonna implement that. And then in terms of like food choices, I'm pretty boring. Like I can
Mhm.
eat the same stuff and be okay with that.
Yeah.
Not everyone's like that, but for me, it's just like a lot of just like, chicken, steak, shitload of pasta,
Mhm.
rice, fruits, veggies, like basic boring stuff.
Yeah, dude.
But I don't
Yeah.
mind, you know.
Oh
That's
yeah, same here, man. I've been having the same like stir fry for probably 3 4 years at this point.
total,
Um,
yeah, for sure.
it just gets the
Um,
job done.
dude, yeah, for sure. So yeah, that's pretty much it.
Nice.
Yeah, I don't know. Yours, same?
Dude,
Training wise?
yeah. I'm doing push pull legs. I'm running the RP hypertrophy app just because it's kind of like it's I think it's priced very well to the point where I'm like,
Yeah,
God damn, if this were any more money, I would say no, but like
yeah,
it just makes life easier.
right.
So I
Sure.
kind of like follow those progressions.
Yep.
Just because I did find myself like sometimes when you have a bigger client load or like just life gets busy, it can be
Right.
hard to make that time for yourself and program for
Totally.
yourself like that. As much as I love doing it, I mean, I would be the first one to slip if it's like between me or like people that actually pay me money. So
Right. For sure.
that's a nice thing to have. Looking forward to seeing how that app progresses as well. And then
Totally.
yeah, I'm finishing up some maintenance. I think I have a couple more days, and then I'm gonna decide if I want to how I'm going to probably go about massing
Yeah.
for a good amount of time. Definitely considering stepping on stage in 2024. I
Oh,
don't know if
sick.
you yeah, if you saw a while back, I did like one of the RP transformation challenges and it
Yeah.
went pretty well. I
Uh-huh.
got pretty shredded and yeah, dude. I mean, that kind of just like showed me like, hey, you can do this. And that wasn't even ideal and optimal. Like that was in 8 weeks. I lost a fuck ton of weight, probably too much.
Dude, yeah.
Um, so yeah, it'd be cool to do. The posing kind of sucks. I hate posing, but I'm like, I feel like I should try this at like at least one point, just to
For
see
sure.
say that I did it and see how it goes. So yeah, man, that's the plan. Um, it's nice, dude. Like being the team full ROM, I can ask like Trevor pretty much any question whenever. And
That seems like
Trevor's
a nice
super.
resource. Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah. Always good to have because like in the back of your mind, sometimes you start second guessing and all that happens. But
Totally.
yeah, that's the plan. Similar to you, man. Just really getting the most out of every set in my own training. It's been a huge thing for anyone listening. If you're looking to improve your training, I feel like couple easy things: slow down the tempo,
Yeah.
work on that mind muscle connection, and yeah, just get the most out of every rep of every set. You'll find your volume goes way down
Yeah,
when
for
you start
sure.
doing that.
Totally.
But yeah, dude, I want to. I know we're getting close to our time here, and I want to just give you the opportunity, promote, plug anything, any parting words of wisdom that you have, that whole thing.
Yeah, for sure. So definitely give me a follow. It's on Instagram, it's O Smith Fitness. Website is oms.fitness. And then in terms of my, philosophy for training clients, it's a lot of, busy professionals, parents. So I try to take the thinking out of the process for them. I do all of that for them. So
Mhm.
I write a program, the workouts on the app that I use, and then every week I tell them exactly what reps, sets, and weights to use. And I update that weekly so that they don't have to think about anything. Just go to the gym, do it, busy people don't really have time to like read about how to implement progressive overload in the best way. So,
Right.
like I do that for them. And then in terms of diet, that's going to depend on experience level. So if they're experienced, it's going to be macros and I'll make those adjustments as needed. But if you're a beginner, it's more nutrition information, habit forming, behavior change, stuff like that. Just like a highly individualized approach to each client. And I'm very passionate about it. And so I take a lot of pride in, being there for my clients at all times. So yeah, that's pretty much it.
I love it, dude. Yeah. I'll be sure to link everything down in
I
the
appreciate that. Yeah,
description,
sure.
wherever you're listening, whether it be Spotify, Apple Podcast. Go click those links, follow
Dude, yeah,
Oliver. Because I mean, the content's great. And now that you know a little bit more about the individual, I feel like you'd be foolish. I'll say it, foolish not to follow. But yeah, man, unless you got anything else, I'll do my little wrap up spiel and we'll be good to go.
dude, one quick thing. So about your content that I like, and I don't even know if this is intentional, but it looks like you are trying not to laugh at times. And I find that so like, dude, that's like, I don't know why I want to watch more.
Huh.
Like something about that makes it seem like you're so comfortable
Hmm.
in front of the camera. And I don't know like how to verbalize it or if you even know what I'm talking about.
A little bit.
I
Sometimes.
really like it's like endearing.
Hell yeah, dude.
So like that's like yeah, keep doing that,
I mean, they say be yourself, I feel
Dude,
like that's
yeah,
pretty much how I am, like just trying to have a good time, trying to help
for
people out
sure.
as we go. But yeah,
Totally.
dude, that's a good thing to hear. I mean, and that just got to lean into it more because that's a really good point. So I appreciate you for
Definitely.
that.
Yeah, for sure, man. Definitely.
But man, dude, thank you so much, Oliver. I appreciate you making time
Yeah,
to
sure.
talk. Appreciate your flexibility once again because I did have to
Totally.
cancel on Oliver yesterday. But to all my listeners out there, once again, please go follow and support Oliver however you can. If you're on YouTube, make sure like the video, comment down any questions below. I'll be sure to relay them and get those answered. Subscribe, ring the notification bell. If you're on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, go ahead, leave us a 5-star review. Share the podcast around with your friends. Do anything else that you might do. And we will catch you in episode 74. See you guys.